Janaballabha Girivadhari Ranna Bhajana Yashodanandana Bhajana Jamuna Tira Vanasari Jamuna Tira Vanasari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada 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 Gaur Pimanande Jayam Vishupad Paramahamsa Bhri Vradgacharya Stotra Satta Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhai Charan Arvind Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Skandi Viti Founder Charyas Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Samavata Bhakti Vrinda Ki Harinam Sankirtana Ki Kantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Thai Gold Pimanande all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and to Sri Gauranga, all glories to Sri Prabhupada Ki. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Sarakaya Chakshurandiritam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhuttale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Sri Jita Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Shyam Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Deshakanditam Scha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutidevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhyaiva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Ram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supreme human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Praya Sabadvishu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed or practically to nil. And a loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, whose praise with transcendental songs it becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Uttama Charitam Sakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Dhanyam Swasayadam Mahat. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God as Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Sarabhyaya Namaha Om Sarabhyaya Namaha Om Sarabhyaya Namaha Mukam Karoti Vasaram Pangom Langayate Girim Yat Kripat Maham Bande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Yat Kripat Maham Bande Shri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone. And today is Sunday. We know when Sunday comes around. Automatic. Yes. Sunday brings special guests. Yes. Sometimes devotees come from Calcutta. They have a special bus. Comes on Saturday, returns. Sometimes people from that group also come. Yeah. But they really have to want to come because it's quite some distance. Yeah. Okay, we are continuing today. Text number 41 from the 18th chapter of the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter which is entitled Maharaj Parikshit Cursed by a Brahmana Boy. Text number, yes, 41. Nishamya Saptam Atad Arham Narendram Sa Brahmano Nat Vajam Abhyanandhat Aho Batam Ho Mahad Adya Te Kritam Alpiyasi Droho Droha Urur Damo Drittaha. Nishamya Saptam Matad Arham Narendram Sabrahmano Natmajam Abhyanandhat Aho Batam Ho Mahad Adyate Kritam Alpiyasi Droha Udur Damodrittaha Nishamya Saptam Matad Arham Narendram Sabrahmano Natmajam Abhyanandhat Aho batam ho mahad adyate kritam. Alpi yasi droha urur damodritaha. Nishamya shaptam matat adham narendram. Sabrahmano natmajam abhyanandat. Aho batam ho mahad adyate kritam. Alpi yasi droha urur damodritaha.
Nishamya Saptam Atat Arham Narendram.
Nishamya saptam matat adham narendram.
Sabrahmano Natmadam Abhyanandat.
Sabrahmano atmajam.
Aho Batam Ho Mahat Adyate Kritam.
Aho bratambo mahad adyate kritam.
Yashi Droha Urudamodhitaha.
Alpi yasi droha urur damodritaha.
Nishamya saptam atat arham narendram.
Nishamya saptam matat adham narendram.
Sabrahmano natmajam abhyam mandat.
Sabrahmano natmajam abhyanandat.
Aho batmaho mahat adyate kritam.
Aho batambo mahat adyate kritam.
Pasya droha urda mudritaha.
Alpi yasi droha urur damodritaha.
Nishamya saptam atad arham narendram.
Nishamya saptam matat adham narendram.
Sabrahmano natmajam abhyaranat.
Sabrahmano natmajam abhyanandat.
Aho batam ho mahadadyate kritam.
Aho batam ho mahat adyate kritam.
Alpi yasi droha ururdamo drita.
Alpi yasi droha urudamo dritaha.
Nishamya Saptam Atat Arham Narendram.
Nishamya saptam matat adham narendram.
Sabrahmano Natmajam Abhyanandan.
Sabrahmano natmajam abhyanandat.
Aho Batambo Mahad Adyate Kritam.
Aho batam ho mahat adyate kritam.
Alpi Yasi Droha Ururdamodrita.
Alpi yasi droha urudamo dritaha. Nishamya. After hearing Saptam cursed Atat Arham never to be condemned.
Never to be condemned.
Nara Indram unto the king,
Unto the king.
best of humankind. Saha, that, Brahmanaha, Brahmana Rishi,
Brahmana Rishi.
not, Atmajam, his own son, Abhyanandat, congratulated. Aho, alas, bata, distressing, amhaha, sins, mahat, great, adya, today, te, yourself, kritam, performed, alpiyasi, insignificant, drohe, offense, uru, very great, damaha, punishment, dritaha, awarded. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Sridham Prabhupada Ki. The father heard from his son that the king had been cursed, although he should never have been condemned, for he was the best amongst all human beings. The rishi did not congratulate his son, but on the contrary began to repent, saying, "Alas, what a great sin, what a great sinful act was performed by my son. He has awarded heavy punishment for an insignificant offense." Kindly repeat after me. The father heard from his son
The father
heard
heard
from
from his
his
son
son
that the king had been cursed,
that the king had been cursed,
although he should never
although he
he
should
should
never
never
have been condemned.
have been condemned.
For he was the best
For he was the best
among all human beings.
amongst all human beings.
The king did not congratulate his son. I'm sorry. Yeah. The rishi did not congratulate his son,
The rishi did not congratulate his son,
but on the contrary
but on the contrary
began to repent,
began to repent,
saying,
saying,
"Alas,
"Alas,
what a great sinful act
what a great sinful act
was performed by my son.
was performed by my son.
He has awarded heavy punishment
He has awarded heavy punishment
for an insignificant offense."
for an insignificant offense.
Purport. The king is the best of all human beings. He is the representative of God, as he is never to be condemned for any of his actions. In other words, the king can do no wrong. The king may order hanging of a culprit, son of a Brahmana, but he does not become sinful for killing a Brahmana. Even if there is something wrong with the king, he is never to be condemned. A medical practitioner may kill a patient by mistaken treatment, but such a killer is never condemned to death. So, what to speak of a good and pious king like Maharaj Parikshit? In the Vedic way of life, the king is trained to become a Rajarshi or a great saint, although he is ruling as king. It is the king only by whose good government the citizens can live peacefully and without any fear. The Rajarshis would manage their kingdoms so nicely and piously that their subjects would respect them as if they were the Lord. That is the instruction of the Vedas. The king is called Narendra, or the best amongst the human beings. How then could a king like Maharaj Parikshit be condemned by an inexperienced, puffed up son of a Brahmana, even though he had attained the powers of a qualified Brahmana? Since Shamika Rishi was an experienced, good Brahmana, he did not approve of the actions of his condemned son. He began to lament for all that his son had done. The king was beyond the jurisdiction of curses as a general rule, and what to speak of a good king like Maharaj Parikshit. The offense of the king was most insignificant, and his being condemned to death was certainly a very great sin for Sringi. Therefore, Rishi Shamika regretted the whole incident. Translation again. The father heard from his son that the king had been cursed, although he should never have been condemned, for he was the best amongst all human beings. The rishi did not congratulate his son, but on the contrary began to repent, saying, Alas, what a great sinful act was performed by my son. He has awarded heavy punishment for an insignificant offense. So, Narendra Modi, uh, Nara, Sanskrit words have combinations, they have root uh, meaning, and here Srila Prabhupada is explaining how, and the text also, how in the Vedic culture, kings are known as Rajarshi, means to become a qualified and bona fide Rajarshi. There's a whole uh, system of training and education, or it takes many years, and such persons who actually develop the good qualities are many. It's amazing, actually. It's like we know that 26 qualities, right, of a Vaishnava are described, nectar devotion. The king has more qualities to develop. There's a whole list: qualities of speech, qualities of so many different aspects. So, mm, not only Rajarsi means Raja and Rishi simultaneously, a combination of a highly qualified, uh, let's say materially speaking, king, because uh, one had to be qualified in all kinds of areas. In martial arts, one had to be qualified in speech, one had to be qualified in diplomacy. I mean, there's a long list. It's a very intense, many years of training. So not only one who is Rajarsi is qualified materially, but also qualified spiritually as a rishi, as good as rishi. Mm. And therefore, this is Vedic culture. Persons, only such qualified individuals can be given, can take up the responsibility, because it's a major responsibility to look after and protect a kingdom and the lives of the praja. Therefore, king is called Prajapati, father. Like a father is responsible for the members of his family, wife, children, and in the Vedic culture, people lived off the land, so animals were there. So one would protect not only human beings, animals, protect the land, the trees, all living entities. So especially, I mean, Parikshit Maharaj, we say King Parikshit, but actually he was more than a king because so many kings are there. He was emperor, Emperor Parikshit. So a king is highly elevated. What to speak of an emperor? Even more so. And therefore, the more we, and of course, in modern day society, we don't, we, because of bad history, because of the bad history of the kings in Kali Yuga, we hear the word king. It's like hearing the word varnashram. It's a bad word. Kingdoms. A few years ago, we had the kingdom of Nepal. Now there's no more kingdom of Nepal. There are a few kingdoms: kingdom of Cambodia, kingdom of,
Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
yeah. There are still kingdoms, and when there is a qualified king, actually, we know from Shastra, and we can see even in some places, that's actually the best form of government. And it's like it's amazing, isn't it? The best form of government, which is monarchy, is not studied.
It's not what?
Not studied. We don't study.
We don't study.
Yeah, we don't. It's not part of our studies
Right.
because we don't have Varnashram college. But that's why Prabhupada wanted Varnashram college, so that we, as devotees, at least two things, that general devotees can have some, basic understanding, and hopefully more than basic understanding, number one. And secondly, that those who are inclined can be trained, can actually be trained in what is meant to be a qualified Vedic king. And a qualified Vedic king must be a Raja and Rishi. He must be qualified materially, he must be qualified spiritually. So when obviously one or the other of these two are not present, things don't work. And when both are not present, then it is, yes, and it is hell. Which is what we have in the world today. So so therefore, the more we understand, which is what is being explained here, although briefly, the more we understand the exalted position of such a personality, then the more we can understand why this to say fault or misdeed of Parikshit Maharaj placing this garland. This is what we've been reading. He placed a garland of a dead snake on the around the neck of this sage, and this sage's son became it's natural that he'd be upset, but he became overly, he reacted overly by cursing, by invoking the powers of a Brahmana, even at that young age. And he cursed the king, King Parikshit Maharaj, to die within 7 days by the bite of a snake. Yeah. So, and this was also, this is explained here. This was acknowledged by his father, that who was a very qualified Brahmana, and here it mentions specifically he did not congratulate, rather he chastised his son, but it was too late. Because generally when a curse is given, you can't withdraw it. You know, in Vedic culture is like amazing how that whole, well, that's how the Pandavas became famous in marrying Draupadi. Because Queen Kunti had, without realizing what she was selling, when Arjuna had come back uh, and had mentioned that we have something, we brought something, because they were living, you know, they would go and maybe get things sometimes for eating or whatever. So she was busy cooking or something in the kitchen. Or just share it amongst all of you. Ah, she didn't realize, well, we brought Draupadi, uh, how to share Draupadi. Anyways, it was. So Vedic culture is very high in terms of its standards, very high in terms of its principles, because that's what ultimately dharma means. Dharma means very, very profound, very deep um, uh, realities, uh, sciences actually, which are meant to conduct our worldly dealings, what we do, how we live. So many details are there. So dharma is that's why dharma is not only is it important, but it is in our Vedic understanding, in our Vedic perspective, dharma is essential. Without dharma, uh, well, Papa would explain, yeah, without religion, because the closest thing that general people understand, at least outside of India, is religion, which is one aspect, not the full aspect of dharma. Then one who does not know about dharma, Prabhupada did say, right, the one who is not part of varnashrama dharma is not considered civilized, right? Not a human being. Uh, so the whole reason why the Lord descends, as mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, is to reestablish dharma samsthapanataya sambhavami yuge yuge, to reestablish these principles of dharma. And again, I mean, the whole Bhagavatam is highlighting, we could say, different aspects of dharma. Like here, what is being highlighted is the exalted position of a qualified personality like Parikshit Maharaj. And that, of course, many people, if they hear portions of this purport where Prabhupada says, you know, a king does no wrong. What do you mean a king does no Because in Kali Yuga, that's mostly what the kings were doing. Were engaged in activities that were adharmic, isn't it?
This is one point where proponents of both democracy and communism will agree or will oppose this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can do no harm.
Yes. So, unless one has some basic understanding of the principles of dharma, then that's why today the common people, it's expected that the common people know less, understand less about dharma, but at least those who are meant to be in positions of authority or leadership responsibility, the criteria is to actually know about dharma. And therefore, like Narada Muni, Narada Muni is, especially in the seventh canto, as we know, is specifically requested by Yudhishthira Maharaj, please talk about dharma. Please explain to me. I am a fallen householder. You're such an exalted personality. Please elaborate on the whole topic of dharma. And I mean, in Mahabharata, Dharma principles are um, being referred to because different activities that are carried out by individuals will often sometimes be just like on the borderline, you know, this side or that side. Sometimes principles of dharma are not so easily uh, understood. Like in this case here, of course, there was not even a chance to have discussions on it. Shringi just took things in his own hands or in his own thread, and he cursed the king. But major decisions we see in the case of King Vena. King Vena was a bad boy, uh, and he was disrupting the whole. You know, he was stopping jagyas and chanting everything. He was going against. So what the brahmanas did, they had a meeting, they had discussions, and they together took a major decision to change the king. Right.
You know, it's very relevant example because in the same uh, instance after King Mena is cursed and to death, the next verse then says that he was a strong leader, and as soon as he died in his absence, all the rogues and scoundrels they became very active and prominent.
Yes.
So the point being that though he was a bad king, not properly situated, because of being a strong, powerful leader,
Yes.
he maintained law and order.
Correct. Yes.
And same thing we see in many countries, like Saddam Hussein was condemned so much, but he kept the Shia, Sunnis, and Kurds and all those factions, and there was law and order. As soon as he was eliminated, that
Yes.
whole place became a hell.
Correct.
And all these different parties.
Yes. Yes. In the case of King Bina, Prabhupada explains that because he was the biggest of the rogues,
Yes,
everyone
right.
Because he
he
was
he
what?
was the
Biggest of
king
rogues.
of rogues.
He was the king of rogues, so they would listen to him.
Yeah. Right.
Right. Just like the mafia. They have
Yeah.
Italian mafia. They have
For
Right.
common men, there is
strong
some
order.
law and order or whatever. There is some, you know, normalcy of because things are still going on as opposed to
Right.
a complete hell.
Yeah.
I have a question. What is the use of that kind of law and order?
What is the use of that?
Yes, like even in the case of King Vena, he wasn't allowing yagyas.
Yes.
He was so impious. Even the Brahmins couldn't properly worship. It was terrible.
Well, he was more than impious.
He was more than impious, and there's kings like that now who are more than impious.
Yes. Yes. And so that's why we cannot compare. Well, I guess there is some comparison between King Vena, who was a uh, bad king, unqualified king, and what we have today in general society. So, in those days, there were very powerful, qualified brahmanas, and they could do something about it. We don't have such kind of brahmanas.
Right.
Number one. Secondly, there's not only one King Vena. There's a whole bunch of them. You know, I mean, it's very rampant, and therefore uh, sometimes it can be in our present context. Let's say it can be bewildering or not clear. Well, how to bring about the changes?
In this regard, Prabhupada made a comment. He said that the leader is corrupt.
Right.
One asked if the husband exploiting the wife. Prabhupada said that it's better to be exploited by one person than many. In absence of a strong bad leader, it's things are even worse.
Right.
Exploited by many bad.
Yes. But now we're exploited by many.
Yeah. But the problem with being exploited by one leader is that he has a whole cohort of exploiters supporting him. So,
Well,
right?
yeah. any scenario that is a dharmic,
Yes.
it has
Yes.
different shades and
Shades,
colors.
right.
Relative.
Yeah, right. It's like different levels of bad, you know.
Right.
And but yeah, Prabhupada did say that
Yes, I can understand that.
it's better to have an autocrat, isn't it?
Mm.
Someone who just doesn't listen to anyone, but who goes by certain. I mean, there's some kind of principles. They may not all be correct,
Correct.
but
Something.
but people fall in line, so to
Right,
speak.
yes.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's like if there's no
Anarchy.
ever, it's like it's a free for all, as they say.
There is no point in cursing current leaders anyway,
Well, no
because
one is
if it's
qualified.
not this King Vena, it's this other
Right,
King
right.
Vena.
Yeah.
It's not like there's
There's no. Yeah, right.
an
There's,
alternative.
there's not a very big choice.
No,
There's not a very big choice. Although, whenever there are elections, people are taught to believe that you have a choice between this one and this one.
For that particular purpose, I think it was about a decade ago, a new political party in India when they came about. Their main point was that we should have an option, not just to select one of the leaders. There should an option, none of the above. And the Election Commission of India implemented it, so somebody can go and vote and they can say none of the above.
Oh, I
where
see.
is
Okay.
this?
In India.
In India.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Because normally that's not there, right? Normally in
Yes.
country,
Right.
you have to choose one of
One of
them.
them.
Yeah,
But
one of
then it
them.
was about a decade ago that Army Party, when they came out, that's what their main push was.
Okay.
It's
There's
very
no
good.
qualified leader, then people should have an option to select none of the above.
Right, right. Okay. So
It's a
that's
minuscule person who select that, but it's still a point that it's an option available.
standard now in India. Well, in the Vedic culture, of course, there's none of that. It's like political campaign and this and that. I mean, they spend huge amounts of money and they get into all kinds of fighting and this and that, and so much of energy and so much of waste of time. Actually, they spend so much time. So that's one aspect, one positive aspect in terms of Vedic culture is that you know it is decided amongst the whole system in terms of establishing qualified kings, and it's not the business of every single member of the society who I think common people, what do they know about
No.
politics? They don't. That's the flaw of democracy, where everyone who is actually not qualified, who by nature, by definition, it's natural to not understand so many things because of so many factors, and therefore the very definition of democracy as it is existing today. Of course, Prabhupada mentions that in Vedic culture there is democracy also, but he adds a qualification. I think he uses the word qualified democracy. Yeah, so the word qualified or something like that means only those who are qualified, like amongst Brahmanas, like in the example of King Vena, the Brahmanas who are, well versed in the principles of dharma, they come together, they discuss, and then they make a decision. Yeah.
Like in China, they have one party democracy in the sense, they don't call it democracy, but the way it's implemented is they choose, there's only one party, the
Right.
Communist Party,
Right.
and a leader is chosen and is voted by only the political bureau
Right.
who can judge.
Right. Right.
Whatever their principles are, they're not according to Dharma, but
Yes.
whatever their philosophy is, it's
Right.
not open for everyone to vote.
Right. Right. Right.
I've been reading the fourth canto by King Vena and Mars Prithu
Yes.
this past week. And Prabhupada says that the in the Vedic system, the Rajarshi, the saintly king,
Uh.
it's not that he was an autocrat. He wasn't, because he would act on the council of Brahmanas.
Yes. Yes.
So Prabhupada makes that point actually more than one time.
Yes, yes, yes. Uh, but he had the kind of what is it, profile of an autocrat,
Yes.
but he had that yeah, that whole dimension which is not there in the actual autocrat, who just doesn't consult with anyone. He says, like, right. So yeah, that point is correct. um, that is, we could say, adding to the scientific nature of a Vedic king, in that he was Vedic kings are who have received the proper training and education over many years. They're actually qualified. Still, they take guidance, as you rightly mentioned, as Prabhupada explains. They take guidance from those who have given more time and who know more in depth the subtleties and the finer aspects of dharma. Yeah, right. Which because a king, he's busy in so many ways and he has much less time to continue his studies, whereas brahmanas, that's their main focus. Brahmanas spend during their training period, like in Gurukul, they will remain in Gurukul longer, um, and they will continue to focus on the study of Shastra. A king will also, that's when I was reading the Kautilya Arthashastra some years back, it was highlighted, it was being mentioned how every day a king also touches base, so to speak, or hears uh, or reads Shastra. He has to continue. But a Brahmana, even more so. That's his main mandatory activity, actually, of studying Shastra. And therefore, yes, kings, Vedic kings would consult either with one or with a council of Brahmanas. This is what we are not having and what we are meant to actually introduce. Prabhupada wanted us, by giving us the mandate to re-establish Vedic culture. Well, we cannot do that unless we know what are the pillars that make up actually Vedic culture, which means qualified leaders in society. And therefore, if someone is meant, as we are meant, as, let's say, the society in general, and individuals within that society, to give guidance and direction to those who are in leadership position, well, we have to understand about leadership. We have to understand about the whole Kshatriya way of governance, Vedic governance, which is a whole very scientific system. Yeah. Yes.
Maharaj, the point that we were making about the comparison of democracy with monarchy, it seems that some of the earlier founders of democratic countries, like America is the oldest democracy, some of the earlier leaders, they are not so opposed to monarchy. And there's a very famous speech by Theodore Roosevelt,
Mm.
which he delivered in Sorbonne, France,
Mm.
about more than 100 years ago. It's called The Citizen of the State, in which he, shares his thoughts of how an ideal society should be. And though he's not a devotee, there's really some good ideas. One of the things that he mentions is that during monarchy, because the king would rule through his whole life.
Because at that time they were still having monarchy in
No, no, no.
France. That was after, huh?
Yeah, he was already the president of America. This is just 100 years ago. So he is the president of America in a democratic system, but he's making the point
Right.
that in monarchy, if there's a good king, many generations can really have a good life, as opposed to in democracy, because you're changing things every 4 or 5 years.
Yes.
It's very dependent on people selecting the right leader.
Correct.
And people can only, he makes the point, people can only select the right leader if they are trained nicely. And the responsibility to train people lies on the leader. So ultimately, you need to have a good leader.
Yes,
So
yes.
that was very
Yes.
interesting that he made that point,
Right.
appreciating monarchy in
Yes.
spite of being a leader of a democratic country.
Actually, the founding fathers of America, we have to give them that credit. They were very pious. They were very pious, and when I was doing my doctoral research, I came across a couple of the founding fathers made statements. One of them, I forget now, which one of them, made a following, I thought, quite remarkable statement that America will remain great if it keeps agriculture in the center, in the focus.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Of course, what was his thinking of, the way agriculture, but it could, because many of them were quite knowledgeable, because going back a few hundred years, agriculture was very much the medium for um, in so many ways. Yeah. Huh?
Maybe Thomas Jefferson.
Almost.
Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah. Right. Yes. So that's interesting. He was talking. Sorbonne is one of the highly respected universities.
In the university itself.
Yeah, correct. And of course, being he was familiar with, France and Europe, which was full of you know kings previously, and so yes. Um,
The Amish understood that concept very well. Because when America started getting industrialized, the Amish people were at the fork in the road, and they decided we are not going to take up that lifestyle, and they continued the
yes,
agricultural way.
right, yeah.
They are very intelligent.
Amish.
It's very interesting to brought up the point of Rajashi, king, he was king for life. There's no question of abandoning his responsibilities.
Correct. Yeah.
He, if he's a little pious and he's doing something wrong, he'll try to rectify. But but this is not Kali Yuga anymore. I mean, in Kali Yuga, it just doesn't happen. So many years ago now, my husband and I were in Taiwan, and there were all kinds of difficulties and corruption going on. And if something very bad happened, like a building collapsed, or and it was found out that it was because of cheating, therefore the building wasn't done properly. That's just one example. This would happen over and over again. What would happen is the person in charge would make a big speech and would say, "I take full responsibility. I quit."
Mm.
Quit. That's easy to do. You make a big mess of everything.
Right.
And then once you've made the big mess, you quit.
You just walk out. Walk out.
The door.
Yeah.
And there was no other consequence.
Yeah.
It's not like there was a big consequence as a result of them quitting, that they had to pay for, financially even. They just quit.
In India, you don't even quit.
Right.
It's another
Right.
level.
Yeah. So that's an important point in terms of monarchy, that one would rule for. I mean, when we look at the history of kings, this king ruled from this year, from X number of years, sometimes maybe 10 years, sometimes maybe 30 years or more, and therefore there's. If there's good leadership, a good qualified king, then there's more longer stability, more stability for a longer period of time, and therefore people are more happy, and the country can develop better in that way. Yeah.
The another disadvantage with that of democracy is that they say I don't have to be here after 4 years, so I don't need to work on any long term. Let me just manage next 4 years and I'm done.
Right. Yeah.
There's no real interest, or they're not invested in doing things.
But most people want to go more than 4 years.
For other reasons.
Yes.
In the villages, Maharaj, for example,
there's no king, right, in the villages. We cannot choose some dynasty of a king or whatever.
Previously, there were kings, or there were,
Villages.
yeah, there were different levels of kings. For example, in the Congo, actually, in a few days, our Mahavishnu Maharaj is coming. And
Who's coming?
Mahavishnu
Oh,
Maharaj from England, he's going to be here. He's going to be in our VIP kutir, Gangotri kutir. He's going to be here from the 24th to the 27th. So one of the reasons he's coming actually is that he's been preaching in the Congo for a number of years. And more recently, some months back, one devotee actually from France had gone there, spent 1 month. That devotee is one of our teachers actually for Varnashram College, Devarshi Prabhu. And when Devarshi Prabhu was there, Maharaj, who's in contact with different villages, they had a kind of a meeting or gathering of, I guess you could call it a gathering of the tribes, about 50 kings from villages. Since you're talking about villages. So in the traditional lifestyle, traditional way of living, then villages did have, well, even now, I mean, all villages, they don't call them kings, but they have what they call head of a village. Um, uh, so what was the point you were
So
wanting
it's
to?
like a monarchy system, right?
Yeah.
And, the rulers and his son will be the next.
Generally, that is there, correct.
Yeah. And if, for example, we want to establish now Varnashrama, means we have to live in a village, and we have to choose the head of the village, right?
Right.
So, for example, we found some qualified devotee who is a kshatriya type of.
Yes.
And is it will work same like a monarchy? His son will be the ruler, and from him like began like this dynasty, like his son, this son, like.
So your question is, are we meant to start dynasties again? Yes, yes, but it will happen. Is it meant to happen in a natural way? And how exactly the whole thing will unfold, because generally dynasties are already established, but now it's
dynasty and two dynasties.
right, Moon dynasty and Sun dynasty. So it's Kali Yuga. Maybe somebody might want to start another kind of dynasty or something. But how it will be done, but yeah, traditionally, see, the more we, our whole purpose and attempt is to come as close as possible to what is actually described in the Shastra, what is meant to be the norm. So the norm is that in monarchy, yes, you have qualified kings. They establish themselves, or they become established due to circumstances, whatever, and then things just unfold. I would say, kind of naturally. If you have a qualified king, then people just like in the times of Lord Ramachandra, everyone was happy. They had nobody, there were no complaints, right? That's one of the symptoms. People are happy because all of their different needs are met, etc., like that. So that's why we need to create this kind of situation where our householders will be able to actually bring forth children who will actually become very qualified both materially and spiritually within the context of Varnashrama, because that's how society is meant to be organized. And then things gradually will will resemble more and more um, what is meant to be. Yeah.
isn't it that in Kali Yuga there's there's no dynasty, it's by qualification. Brahmana is not set, passed on from one to another. Prabhupada made that point very strongly.
Yes
It's
and
like
no. Yes, I would say yes and no.
Yes and no. Okay.
Yeah, yes and no. Because although it is true And it's there in the Shastra, and Prabhupada has reminded us and explains in different places that Varna is not by birth. At the same time, when the system is in place,
Yes.
the general, yeah,
I see.
the general outcome is that if you're, the son of a Brahmana, then it's like 99.9% you become a Brahmana. Yeah.
Mm.
And that comes out actually in the conversation or in the statement of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Yeah. Because that whole discussion was there regarding, which is, it's something that we as devotees, we don't think about. We don't think about it because we're not living in the natural context that we should be in terms of general society. When you're in the temple and in the whole temple kind of like mood and mentality, you think less about and you kind of conclude that it's, and in some ways it's also true, it's kind of less important. But when you're living in the village, when you're living in general society, one of the most important responsibilities of elderly, mature brahmanas is to determine and select the varna of an individual. So, so then everything else is meant to follow after that. Yeah. Yeah.
But I just heard that in the Vedic system, there is a rule that kings who are becoming the ruler, because Kshatriyas not necessarily becoming the rulers, but the kings becoming the ruler should be in the line of the two
Sun
main
and moon.
The dynasty,
the
yes.
Sun and the Moon dynasty. And also there is a rule that if I think the ninth generation is missing to properly cultivate, that they are broken.
Right.
So they call this line is broken.
Yes.
And then they cannot re-establish in a normal. I don't know how to
Well,
re-establish this
yeah.
kind of things.
At some
Yes
point,
and no.
at some point, we'll have to. It's like yoga nasta.
You wanna.
Yeah, I mean that's what Krishna is telling also, that the understanding of Bhagavad Gita is broken, and now he has come to reestablish it. So different things we don't maybe know or understand at this point now, but different things will have to be somehow or other reestablished.
And also I heard that there is a representative of this line, but it's hidden.
It's there in
And-
Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
So last king was the one that was installed by Chanakya. What was the name of that king? It's mentioned in the 11th book, right? And king of Magad. And he said this will be the last king in this Yunana dynasty. And
Right.
then he will go and hide in a place between Sambal or somewhere. And only after the Kali Yuga is over,
Yeah.
the generation after that will continue that dynasty.
Yeah, that is. But what about the 10,000-year period?
Right.
So
It's a long time.
and it looks like the Lord's will not to present such a dynasties which naturally can be re-established. So it's also a question that if the Lord want to re-establish this kind of Vedic Varnashram, or he wants something else. So
Yeah.
that's also maybe we have to research what is the Lord's will for us in this generation.
Yeah. Well, even at this point, without getting into much discussion, but there are differences, different takes on that, so to speak, because some devotees, some senior devotees also presently within our society are promoting what is called Ekkavarna.
What is it? What is it?
Ekkavarna.
Only one.
Eka?
Ekkavarna. Ekka means one.
One, yes.
Yeah, one Varna.
One Varna.
One Varna. The Chaitanya
That's like,
Varna.
yeah, Satya Yuga, Hamsa Varna, only one Varna. Very far.
But Prabhupada, if you look at Prabhupada's purports, how often does he speak about Ekkavarna? I've never come across it. So anyone who wants to promote and and argue, for Ekkavarna is going to have a hard time finding quotes from Prabhupada. And even in the Shastra, things are easily, unfortunately, that's how most misunderstandings occur. We take things out of context.
Yes.
Isn't it? So Ekavarna is there in actually in the Shastra, but it's
Only Satya Yuga,
Yeah.
Hamsa Varna.
but there is I mean, there will be Bhaktivinoda Thakur's prediction. There will be one sampradaya, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the Chaitanya sampradaya, Bhakti sampradaya. Anyways, yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Jai Gnatharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Shri Prabhupada ki, Jai. Okay.